Hi everyone, this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching with today's video. It's video 266 and it's called Vertical Patches, Charming Collections of Color. The source is Quiltmaker, Spring 2025, page 96. And the things that I was going to include today were the pattern and some sample blocks, colors of your patches, cutting organization, and sewing and pressing. And I'm going to go ahead and start. This is not the quilt I'm doing. This is probably, I guess, what I'd call my goal project to do one day. And if you look at it, you can tell that the columns run up and down, the patches. And I thought, before I try anything like that, I'm going to keep that thought in my mind. And in the meantime, I found this quilt. And this one is from Quiltmaker, and it's this year's. And if you look at it, you can see that the patches run up and down also. And they are 18-inch squares. And I thought, okay, before I start doing a whole quilt, I can take and start with these 18-inch blocks and see how I like it. And the one that we're going to look at today from the magazine, the one they did had 20 blocks, and the quilt was 90 by 72. And so that was not my goal right now. I was starting somewhere else. I was starting with just make a block and see where you go. The other thing that's neat about this pattern is that it was designed to be a scrappy quilt. Now, the fabrics tend to be about the same that she used in here, the same type, the way they're set up. And so when I show you my samples, you're going to see, because it's scrappy, I did 2 scrappy blocks. Then I came up with a block that I really like, and that's the one I'm going to show you today that I keep working on. This was the first block that I did, and it's really fun. I'm on the 4th block, and I started having a little feeling of fun in the 3rd block. And then the last block, I have really, really enjoyed it. But if you look, there are going to be 11 columns. And the 2 outer columns are just a little bit wider. They're 2 3/4 inches. But everything else in the middle is going to be 2-inch patches. And you can see that there's a background color, and then you've got your dark and medium colors that go through the rest of it. And that's what we're going to look at today. That was the first one. And this was the second one. And I know it's hard to see the whole thing, but you get the idea. And the nice thing about what's cute to me is each of the corners has a different, wider material to it, and that gives it a different look. And then I'm going to talk about how, as we put it together, I got it. But now I want to show you, I've always liked black and white, and I like black and white and gray. So I got out my little stacks of black and stacks of gray, and I started. And here is my black and white and gray. And you have the wider outside. You have the whole column in the center. I think that's row 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, row 6 out of the 11. And there's no light that shows up in there. And I just picked the different ones that I liked and put those in there. And then I did this one. So you can see I'm on the way to making at least a 4 by something, if not bigger. And this was some of the same materials, but some new ones added to it. So it's my scrappy quilt. And those are my scrappy samples. That said, I want to show you over here on the side. Everything's sort of here in one place today. And you know, if you mess up a row, you can just take out that 2 inches and fix it or whatever. But it's really nice when you get the pieces going together. Now, have I done a perfect job the first time with each one of the blocks? No. Even the last block I did, the fourth one, the black one, I had 3 places that I had to fix it. I had picked up too long of a strip. And of course, when I got ready to sew my strips together, one was longer than everything else. But because of the way I've organized it, it was easy to go back and find it. So the first thing that I figured out was I was going to take and make a chart. Okay, I got the first chart. All right, now, and I was talking to my son last night because I don't know everything about computers. And I said to him, Chris, I'm trying to make these charts, and I put these charts in the video hoping it's going to help. But my last idea is that anybody has to copy it. And so I know you can take a snapshot with your camera. That's one way. And if your camera goes to the printer, you'll get a copy. But then he was saying that Microsoft has got a snipping or a snip tool. So I was looking at that today. Have not mastered it yet. But I did get a copy of the sheet from the video into my clipboard. And that's as far as I've gotten. So I'm learning that it can be done. Okay, so here's an overall. This is for a one block, because you may like to do a sample. And you've got your letters that go with them. You have the medium and darks. And this is the number you would need, like 4 patches, 3 patches. And then here's your light column. But then I found out it really helped me the more I had the actual dimensions around. Now, there are only 5 light patches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that wasn't too hard. So I just went over, and the first thing I did there, that top row, was I call that B, D, F, G, H. Those are the only letters that go for the light patches. All right, so that helped me. And so I said, okay, well, if that helped me, I'm going to go ahead and look at my dark fabrics. And if you just look down over here, you're going to see, and actually I made these real neat for you because I thought, well, I'm going to use them again, and I want to be able to read them. And the first time I had just said A, C, D, E. But I really needed to know the dimensions, even over here, because sometimes when you're grabbing them to put them on the columns, you grab the wrong one. And I found that out. That was one of the mistakes that I made on that last bunch. And so this would be the making of one block, what you see right now over towards the left. And everything's laid out. And the nice thing about it is that the whites are all going to be white. But then my colors, because I laid them out and sort of staggered them going down, I was able to see when I needed something light, when I needed a gray, when I needed a dark. And so that's my whole setup. But I choose from that pile. Now, I can always go back and add something to a pile if I don't like what I have left. So that's one way I have found was really a nice way to set up. And this is for one block. All right, then on the chart, on the bottom, I went through and put down what was suggested. If you wanted to try and if you wanted to make the 20 blocks for a 90 by 72, and it would have a backing of almost 6 yards. But you can see, and if there's an X in a box, that means you don't make an A. You don't need to make any A's. If there's 80 in the box, like this one for the white, you're going to have to, you make 80 of them. And it's going to be a lot of cutting when you start. All right. The third page that you're going to see, it's going to be the actual columns. This has been so nice because it helps me put them on there when on my cardboard. When I find out I've got a mistake, it's easy to look back at this and say, oh, that was supposed to be longer, or that was supposed to be shorter. It gets a little faster to getting a fix for that one. So this was a good one, and I keep this one. I'm going to laminate it, I think. All right. So I know this is going fast, but I feel like I've done everything up till now to help you to get ready to start. So then I said, for me, I wanted to have a way to set up my block. And I just happened to find a big piece of cardboard this time. And I went through the bottom, and I numbered it 1 through 11 on the bottom of it. And then I also put the number for how many patches that I should have on there. And one of the highest patches you have are 7. All right, so then what I did was I started looking at my chart. And for example, it said I'm going to have 5. I needed an A and an A. Now that's one thing that's going to help you. If you'll notice, the A and the A are the same. And the same thing happens. The next is D and D, F and F, G and G. All right. If it has red, it's going to be the white fabric all the way through there. So I started and I said, okay, I need one of the corner patches. I put him up there at the top. Then I knew I needed a B, skip a space, and a B. Those were going to be my light ones. And they were 2 3/4 by 5. And that was the ace. Those are the dark ones. All right. And then this was the light ones. All right. And that's B. And so B was my first one over there on the left. So I took 2 of those, but one at there and one there. The middle one was C, and that was 2 3/4, a nice little narrow one. Then I had another one of those nice A blocks that went down there. And then I can move it over. And the next row has just got 3. So I had a D and a D out of the white, a D and a D. And the connector was 2 times 3.5. It goes right there. And I actually went ahead and I did the whole thing. And I could get all 11 rows on here, being columns, being real careful if I slid my first ones over. Okay, and you would love that. Once you get it set up, you can look at your block and say, oh, I don't like that there, I can move it. But because this is scrappy, I don't think you're going to have a whole lot of that you're going to worry about. All right, so I've got all 11 columns, and I'm ready to start sewing them together. So what I do is I just collect them. I take number 1, put it over number 2, put it over number 3, and then have the last one. So they're in order. And I just do one at a time because then I don't have to worry about, and I've got it sitting right by my sewing machine. So I sew those together and those together. To iron them, take an iron. This works really well, is to iron towards the dark. if you have the darks. That's going to be really nice. I started out opening up some seams, and I said, no, I don't need that because I've got all those darks. So you'd press them towards the dark. Trying to keep them together here. All right, that was one thing that I did. But when I started sewing the columns together, I got those sewed together. Now, if you're using your scraps and you're not using necessarily width of the fabric or whatever, then you're going to find you've got some pieces that are going to be a little stretchy. So mostly when I put the columns next to each other, I'd put the first one up there and get the sewing machine to catch it. And then I'd go all the way down to the bottom and see if I was right on it. And if you find out that you're a little short with your second column, you can just tug it a little bit and you'll see that there's a lot of give in there that's really nice. And then I did find out as I was going that when you do these center ones, like this one, it's going to actually come and be in the center of this one. And every once in a while, you'll see that the seams are hitting on some of them, but that means they're in the right place. But don't worry about it unless it looks really off. But just remember that you've got a little bit of give, too, when you're working with your pieces. And since I had 1 and 2 that I had sewed for you to see, I'm going to take this and I'm going to go, I've got it pinned at the top. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. This one is so absolutely close. I'm very happy since I'm showing it to you. But the bottom comes right there. And so I would just pin it. And it's nice if you can keep your seams steady and even when you're sewing your patches together and then when you're sewing your columns. Now, one thing that I did differently with the pressing on this when I get it sewed together was when I tried folding the white and the blacks one direction to the right or to the left, when I looked at the front, I didn't like the way it was laying. It was sort of bunching at the seam in places. Plus, the white piece really showed up when everything went that direction. And sometimes you don't have any choice. So those seams, I actually did a press before I opened it up. And then I opened the seam up and pressed it. And I'm really liked the way it laid down. So, and something to think about when you're choosing your materials, when I got my grays and my blacks, and you're cutting small patches so you can have stacks on your table and it's easy to pull them. And so here, I've got my black stack. Let's see if I get it here. There it is. And then I realized that I had a box of patches in there that were 2-inch, and I had some that were 2.5. And I said, well, those are almost cut already. And you need 4 of the colored patches for each sample, but sometimes you have one hidden in there you really like. And then I have a box that I keep specialty black and white in. Don't ask me why. I just started it one day, and I just love going to it for fun things to go in the quilt. And so I pulled that out. So look through things. Look through some of your 5-inch charms and see if you've got something that goes with the color you have. Or just go ahead and just go crazy and do a scrappy quilt and have a good time, because there you can have fun putting the back on it and putting a binding around on that. And I will do this, and I know now that I'm going to get at least 4 blocks, which would make a nice wall hanging with that black and white. But I'm just going to check on that, and I have 2 that I could do to start something that's scrappy. So this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. I hope you'll give that a try. Thank you for watching. Things will be in the description. If I forgot something, especially something will be there. And I'm so glad people came back to go look at that beautiful butterfly quilt. I was so pleased with that. And if you would subscribe and hit like, that will make YouTube be happier with me. So thank you very much.